After 6 years of marriage, my wife suggested we open our relationship, which led me to file for divorce and cut off her access to my $112,000 salary. I'm 37 and have been married to Lisa, who is 39, for 6 years, though we've known each other for a decade. I serve as a logistics officer in the Marine Corps, and my deployments last about 6 to 7 months each year. My job pays well, around $120,000 annually, including benefits and combat pay, which allows us to live comfortably. We met in 2014 through mutual friends at a cookout. At that time, I was already in the Marines, and she was an elementary school teacher earning about $45,000 a year. Lisa stood out from the other women I had dated. She understood the military lifestyle because her father had served for 25 years. She was self-sufficient, had her own career, and didn't want me solely for the benefits that came with being a military spouse, unlike several others I had encountered. After 4 years of dating, we married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and family. Her father, a veteran himself, was pleased to welcome another military man into the family. The first few years of our marriage were wonderful. Lisa was supportive of my career and proud of my service. We made the most of our time together during my homecomings. While I was deployed, she kept busy with her teaching job, attended her book club, and spent time with other military wives who understood her situation. We established a routine of weekly video calls, care packages, and occasional visits when I was in port. I even bought her a 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood close to her school, replaced her car every few years, and ensured she had everything she needed. She always felt that the deployments were worthwhile and was happy to be a military spouse. We discussed having children but agreed to wait until I could secure a desk job, as she didn't want to raise kids alone for half the year. Life seemed perfect until everything changed. Lisa began spending more time with a new group of acquaintances from her yoga class, most of whom were single women or divorced mothers from her school. She shared photos of their girls' nights out at upscale restaurants and clubs, places we used to enjoy together. I didn't think much of it at first, believing she was just keeping busy while I was away. However, she started to care more about her appearance, buying nice clothes, frequently getting her hair done, and joining a gym with a personal trainer. I assumed she was treating herself with the money I earned, but looking back, these were all red flags. During a typical video call date night, Lisa suddenly suggested we open our marriage. I thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. When I questioned her, she explained that she had been thinking about it for a while and believed it was best for us. She claimed that no woman could control her desires for 6 months and that she was tired of dealing with the loneliness of my deployments. Desiring closeness, I felt devastated that she reduced our marriage to something so superficial after 10 years together, 6 of which were spent as a married couple. I tried to stay calm and thanked her for everything she had done to keep us going. I reminded her that the distance was part of my profession, something we had both agreed upon when we married. We had discussed transferring to a desk job before, but the opportunities hadn't arisen, and I genuinely enjoyed my work. Lisa had always seemed to understand this until recently. She became frustrated when I tried to have a rational discussion about it. I suggested we talk later when we were both calmer, but she insisted we settle it right then and there. She complained about feeling lonely, spending birthdays and anniversaries alone, and going to doctor's appointments by herself. As she cried while discussing her feelings, I understood it was difficult. I missed many key moments too. But what was I supposed to do? This was exactly what she signed up for when she married me. Initially, many people advised us to have a child to keep her occupied during my deployments, but Lisa wasn't ready to be a single parent for half the year, and I agreed it wasn't fair to place that burden on her. So, we decided not to have children until I secured a desk job. Now, I wondered if that decision had worsened her loneliness. But opening the marriage? That didn't feel right. I asked her if she was breaking up with me, and she replied, "No, I love you. I could never leave you. I want to grow old with you." But she continued, "I'm about to turn 40, and in a few more years, I'll hit menopause. I have so little time to enjoy my sexuality. Half of my golden years are passing by while I wait for you. I don't want that. I want to live a fulfilling life and not die with as if I should just accept sharing my wife for half the year." I questioned how long this arrangement would last, just a few years or indefinitely. She hadn't made a decision. I asked if she had already cheated on me, and she snapped back, saying, if I wanted to cheat, I wouldn't be having this conversation. She believed that being honest about her desire to sleep with other men was better than lying about it, which struck me as some warped logic. I inquired whether I had any say in this, but she insisted her mind was made up. If she didn't pursue this, she claimed she would go insane. My head was spinning. I told her I needed time to think, but she simply hung up without saying goodbye. What made this situation even more surreal was that I had just left home 3 or 4 weeks ago after spending 3 months together. During my absence, everything had seemed fine. We had flown to Hawaii for our second honeymoon, renovated the house as she requested, and even discussed the possibility of trying for a baby next year. She had been affectionate the entire time, always talking about our future together. The day I left, she was emotional and making plans for my next leave. We had even started saving money for our future child. I was actively looking for opportunities at a nearby base to spend more time at home. That's how committed we were to starting a family. When I asked her the next day why she hadn't brought this up while I was there, she said she didn't feel the need for other men around me. That's when it clicked, she had undoubtedly met someone at her new gym or through those single friends. The timing was too convenient. Just before I left, she had mentioned a new personal trainer at her gym who was inspiring and had been giving her extra attention. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, but the way she pushed for it shortly after I left made it seem planned. Part of me wanted to believe it was just about loneliness, but I wasn't that naive. My friend Jake had gone through something similar last year. His wife had requested an open marriage during his deployment, only for him to find out she was already dating someone. They are now divorced. I pressed Lisa again, asking if this was truly what she wanted and if she had considered what it would mean for us and our future plans. She replied with a simple yes, as if the 3 months we spent planning our lives together meant nothing. I decided to challenge her on the details, not because I was considering it, but to understand her flawed reasoning. I asked about the logistics. Could I see other women? How would we handle finances? Her response revealed how selfish this whole situation was. She admitted she hadn't thought that far ahead, she just wanted someone to meet her needs while I was away. But when I returned, it would be just the two of us again. She suggested I could try dating on my days off, but I couldn't see other women at home because she would be there. According to her, we'd see how it went and possibly end the marriage once she was done exploring. I had reached my limit. This wasn't what I signed up for. I wanted a monogamous marriage, but since she had made up her mind, I wouldn't stop her. I warned her there would be consequences. She had the audacity to ask what I planned to do about it. I calmly informed her that first, she would have to cover her own expenses, no more money from our joint account. Second, we would sever all communication. I didn't want calls or texts while she was busy with her new life. Third, I might start seeing other women without any restrictions from her. She laughed, saying she knew I would come around, that she was excited, and that it would be fun. Then she added, I know you won't go too far. How could you leave such a stunning woman, and began to remove her clothes. I shut that down quickly. I told her my conditions would start immediately and wished her well before hanging up. That was it, I stopped caring about her. She tried to reach out, but I ignored her. Soon, she began posting obvious date night and vacation photos without revealing the men, but come on, a hot tub selfie with rose petals, candles, and 2 wine glasses? It wasn't hard to figure out what was happening. Her sister texted me, asking if I knew what Lisa was up to. I told her straight out that Lisa had initiated this open marriage without my consent because she was lonely. Lisa bombarded my phone after that, but I didn't care. My next shore leave begins next week, and I've already asked my brother to help me find an apartment. I've shared the entire story with my family and hired a lawyer to begin work on my case. I'm not rushing anything. I want to do this right and make her regret her decisions. Yet here she was, questioning me about my love life. I found it ironic that she was now worried about me moving on when she had been the one to initiate this whole mess. My friends often joked that I could have a girlfriend in every country if I wanted, but I had always remained faithful because that's what marriage meant to me. Some of us in the military continue to honor our vows, but no one seems to recognize our efforts. They just assume that all service members cheat. As for what transpired during my leave, I didn't return to our home. I couldn't bear the thought of sharing the same bed with her and her other male partners. My brother had secured me an apartment in one of the new luxury towers in town. I spent the first few days with him and his family, and my sister-in-law was upset when she learned what Lisa had done. They used to be good friends. I took my niece and nephew camping for the weekend, something I had promised them for years. The kids kept asking where Aunt Lisa was, and I felt terrible having to come up with excuses. After that, I spent time with my parents in our hometown and caught up with old acquaintances, all of whom claimed they had never trusted Lisa. I shared everything on social media, not to be petty, but to show her that I wasn't sitting around feeling sorry for myself. My shore leave usually consisted of high-profile military parties and fancy gatherings held at five-star hotels, events that Lisa always enjoyed attending. Not everyone is invited to these events, they're mostly for top commanders and their spouses, politicians, and prominent citizens in town. These parties were significant for her social standing, and she loved showing off her beautiful outfits and attracting attention. I made sure to post plenty of photos, including ones with female co-workers who were far more successful than her: doctors, lawyers, and business owners. When people asked about Lisa, I told them the truth: she wanted an open marriage to fool around while I was gone. Word spread quickly in our community, and all the military wives who used to fawn over her began unfriending her. When she first saw my family photos online, she texted me asking where I was staying and why I wasn't at home. Then she switched to, "Okay, I'll give you space. I'll wait for you," as if she were doing me a favor. However, when she saw the party photos, she lost it. She started contacting me, saying I had abandoned her and wondering if we hadn't agreed to be normal when I got home. She began messaging me at 2 a.m., expressing how much she missed our life together and how all these other guys didn't matter. I didn't respond to any of it. After months of silence, I eventually told her, "I never agreed to this. You did what you wanted, and now I'm doing what I want." She replied with some nonsense about waiting for me to come back when I was done, as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. She truly believed she could just pause our marriage while she indulged herself and then resume when she was finished exploring. A few months later, she reached out again, expressing a need to discuss the terms of our open marriage, as if we could sit down over coffee and arrange when she could cheat. I shut that down quickly, telling her to do whatever she wanted. I wasn't playing this game. My lawyer advised me to keep a record of all these communications, as they would be useful in the divorce proceedings. Then Lisa saw me living my best life and sent me emails saying she wanted to go back to normal, that she was done with this, as if she could just flip a switch and everything would be fine. She wrote a lengthy email about how she had made a mistake, how none of these other guys made her feel the same way I did, and how she realized what she was missing. I simply replied with a dismissive "ha" and went on with my day. My mother, who hadn't spoken to Lisa since the incident, put it best: she didn't expect you to choose your dignity over her. One day, Lisa unexpectedly dropped by my apartment. I had no idea who told her where I lived. I had only shared my address with close family and a few trusted friends. Someone must have snitched, but I didn't want to know who. At the time, I was getting ready to go for a workout when I heard a knock. She looked completely different from when I left. She had lost weight, dyed her hair blonde, and was wearing a tight outfit she had never worn before. She stood there, nervous, and asked why I wasn't staying at our house. I told her straight out that I had no intention of living with someone who disrespected our marriage. She didn't like that response at all. "I thought we could figure this out," she replied, as if we were having a minor people, but suddenly she was jealous at the thought of me being with someone else. She continued to beg for answers, but I had had enough. I just shouted, "Get out!" She left, claiming I would regret betraying her trust. The irony of that statement wasn't lost on me. My lawyer had already prepared the divorce paperwork, and I planned to have her served once I returned to town, so she wouldn't come crying into my apartment again. If she wanted to open things up, fine. I was about to initiate divorce proceedings. My attorney served her the day I left for shore duty. She contacted me in a frenzy, shouting about how I had betrayed her and left her broken, as if she were the victim in all of this. Then she called my lawyer, saying she would fight the divorce until the end and wouldn't let me go, as if she had any real choice in the matter. She also tried to play the victim role with my parents, calling them and wailing about how I had taken her by surprise and how she had no idea what was coming. That backfired quickly. They already knew everything and told her exactly how they felt about her behavior. They promptly blocked her number. Then her mother called me. Lisa had been telling everyone that we had agreed to open our marriage, convincing her entire family that this was a mutual decision. Her mother said they found it strange but assumed it was our personal choice. I shut that down quickly. No way. I already told your other daughter the truth months ago. I was never on board with this ridiculous idea of hers. Her mother began talking about how Lisa's mental health was deteriorating because everyone had cut her off. All those beautiful gatherings she used to enjoy? Nobody invited her anymore. The other officer wives refused to speak to her. Her mother truly expected me to feel sorry for Lisa. I thought to myself, why would my friends keep inviting her when she's not even my wife anymore? Is there any chance you could work things out? Her mother inquired. I chuckled and replied, not at all. I can't be the husband of a woman who has kept her legs open for other men for the last year. Who knows what kind of dirt has gone in there? It was harsh, but I wanted them to know how I felt about their daughter's behavior. Lisa's mother indicated she wasn't ready for a divorce. I was upfront with her, the longer Lisa fights this, the worse it will be for her. I'm moving forward with my life, whether she likes it or not, so she better cooperate for her own sake. Lisa has now bombarded my phone with texts and voicemails, begging, pleading, and promising to change, stating she would do anything to make things right. I haven't blocked her yet. Perhaps this is selfish, but I want her to see exactly what she tossed away. I'll block her eventually, but for now, I'm letting her suffer as much as I did when she sprung her open marriage proposal on me. Update 2, here's the latest. I'm enjoying another shore break, and the divorce proceedings are underway. Lisa has been fighting hard against them, not because she wants to heal things, but because her perfect little plan is unraveling. However, she is now absolutely broke. That shiny new world of freedom she desired so much? It turns out it wasn't as glamorous as she imagined. All those guys she was going out with? They merely wanted to have fun with a married woman, and they all left when the money ran out. She literally burst into tears in front of the magistrate, stating that opening the marriage was a mistake. She now wishes she could rewind the past year and return to normal. After I denied her access to our joint account, she depleted her funds in an attempt to maintain her lifestyle. Within a year, she had spent everything. Her teacher's paycheck barely covers rent now, let alone the fashionable outfits she had grown accustomed to. That's the problem with living large. Once you're acclimated to it, there's no turning back. When she first disclosed the idea of an open marriage and I withdrew my money, she assumed it was only temporary. She thought she could rely on her savings until I came to my senses and began subsidizing her lifestyle. That was her wonderful plan, be a faithful wife during my breaks and then go wild while I was overseas. Her strategy failed miserably. She begs for another opportunity at each court session, saying, "Let's start over." It's easy for her to say that. She wasn't the only one who had to deal with shame and trauma. What truly gets to me is that she purposefully dropped the open marriage notion just before my deployment began, leaving herself 6 months to do anything she wanted before I returned. Those first months at sea were terrible. You're stuck out there with nothing but the ocean around you, no distractions, just staring at the water and thinking,